Juicy J says all rap sales are down over 40%. What up, words? Your boy Charles Brown back again talking facts. Hit the like button. Hit that subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Head over to CLBMG.com. See what we got cooking. Rap sales are down 40%, bro. Do you know how significant that is? If your sales of any product go down 40%, you're done. There is a reason for this. And one of the reasons that I feel, and a lot of people like me feel, rap is down 40%, is because there's no creativity. And I know that's easy to say. That's like, oh man, there's no creativity. Everybody's they're doing the same thing. They're using the same beats, but it's deeper than that. See, the thing is, and I'm about to get the old school on you right now, right? Old school frame of mind. Back in my day, right? You know how they say everybody had to be original, but it's not just that they had to be original. They trained you to be a better artist. They trained you. They had media training. They had A&Rs. They had artists in development, right? And when they discovered you, they would put you through a certain paces. They would put you through certain training that you had to do, right? Not severe like Puffy was doing with the making a band. We had them walking for cheesecake, but they would put you through. You had to learn how to do your steps. You had to learn how to put on a show. You had to learn how to breath control your breathing, and learn how to perform. You had to learn how to stand on stage. You had to learn how to talk. You needed to learn how to interview, right? You needed to learn the business. You needed to study under somebody. They got you choreographers and all kind of things like that. Vocal coaches. They made you into a viable star, right? They're not doing that anymore. For one, the music business, ever since this little thing called an MP3 was invented, and people started file sharing where we could send MP3s for free without even paying a nickel, LimeWire and all that, the industry has been down. The music industry has been down once they started to share freely music. As soon as your album dropped, I could rip it and upload it to the internet, send the whole thing all across the world, peer-to-peer sharing, right? File sharing for absolutely nothing. That cut the music business into a shell of itself because they used to get $20 per CD or more. They're paying $1 something and change for a CD, selling it for $20. A lot of boats and jets was purchased by a lot of label heads. A lot of trips to wherever you could insert was done because they made a lot of money. A lot of mansions, a lot of yachts, things of that nature. When these MP3 came, oh boy, a lot of people started to get laid off. A lot of things changed because music started to become something you could not sell no more. Yes, they still sold them. They sold CDs for years, but they were not making the money off the CDs that they used to. So they had to figure out, how can we do this without the A&R, without the guy making these artists media ready, and how can we do, let's just, first of all, we can start firing these A&Rs. And we can stop this whole massive label staff. We can cut this in half or a quarter and stop building them into real artists. And then to go even further, we can only look for the people that are already buzzing, already popping, that are selling out the trunk, right? There were a lot of great artists selling out the trunk. Too Short, Ludacris, Master P, a lot of artists were selling out the trunk, quote unquote, right? Selling their CDs out of the trunk of their car, making a good amount of money off of it. What that led to was them not wanting to develop anybody anymore. They didn't want to pay for it. They could find somebody that's already buzzing, already have their instincts together already, and just sign him or her. So it became where they weren't physically training anybody anymore. They weren't telling people, oh, you should do this, you should do that, pronounce your words correctly. I know Beanie Siegel has a story, and Freeway, they were told, enunciate your words more clearly, right? Enunciate those words. Don't just leave them out there as slang. Pronounce the word better, you'll go further. And they started, as you notice, when they speak, when they rap, they'll pronounce those words. They'll pronounce those words much clearer so that they can be heard and understood. And that made them much more viable artists. When the label stopped doing that, anything goes when they sign these artists. So I went the long way around to let you know that they're not developing you. They're taking you as is. And when you come into the game, you're unseasoned a lot of times. And you're not being pushed to your create. They're letting you do whatever you want to do on this album. Is what I'm saying. And the worst thing that they started to do was, if you were already buzzing using the formula that's already out, they would take that and perpetuate that, which means you were already sounding like somebody else. You were already doing things somebody else was doing. You were already using a style that was already used. So when you got 4, 5, and 6 people starting to pop using the same exact style, that's a problem for the creativity of the culture. Hip hop and rap is a very creative culture. Even if you were doing gangster rap, you were doing whatever kind of rap, hardcore rap, softcore rap, horrorcore, whatever you're doing, lyrical rap, playboy rap, party rap, whatever you're doing, you had to do it creatively. Once they strip the creativity from it, right? They're not telling stories no more. They're not being vulnerable no more. They're not in love no more. These guys can't say they love nobody because the internet is so brutal. Everything has to be one kind of way. But then when that rapper becomes that one kind of way, then the internet wants to clown him and say, oh, he's a carbon copy. He's lame, da-da-da. So it's a double-edged sword with these rappers. Now, fast forward years of this. Years of carbon copies being signed and spit off. Another carbon copy, another this guy is just like that guy. That guy just, right? And then you got to consider that the lyricism is being pushed aside because it's not easily digestible. So when they're looking to sign these people, they don't want your lyrics too hard to digest because then they can't sell you. These record labels need the money they need you to sell records. Without that, they don't have much. So at the end of the day, they're going to look for people who have a certain look, a certain formula, a certain style. Carbon copy. Once you start copying, pasting, carbon copying, then copy the person and paste it, it becomes redundant. And in most things, especially technology, when something is redundant, it's unnecessary. When we have a bunch of artists that are almost identical, when they're the way they're dressed, the way they speak, the way they sing, the way they act, the way they talk, after a while, it becomes redundant. And you can get that from anywhere. People went to hip hop and rap because it was creative. They were saying things that they themselves couldn't think of or couldn't say. The rappers were saying it. Now, everybody's rapping. Everybody's saying the same stuff. In the hood, everybody's talking just like the rappers and everybody's rapping just like, you know what I'm saying? It's the exact same thing everywhere. And even the little white kids out in Iowa or whatever, they've become immune to it because it has no real, it's nothing that they can't get anywhere else. After a while, it's redundant and boring. When we used to run to the store and get a new CD, almost everything on that CD was stuff we hadn't heard before. It made you go, oh, wow. Right now, the goal of the label is to get them to say the exact same thing you've been hearing for 10 years. The label isn't pushing them to do anything creative, anything new. So if their whole goal is to sound exactly like the last artist that just came out a week ago, you're not going to be as intrigued to go stream that. You're going to start looking for alternatives to that, especially most smart kids. These kids are super smart. They don't want to hear the same thing over. They're not going to watch the same movie over and over. They're not going to watch the same shows over and over. They want to be entertained in different ways. So the simple fact of the matter is you're going to get a bunch of repetitive stuff that is boring. You have a lot of R&B, you have a lot of pop that's coming out. A lot of stuff that these kids could rather listen to rather than some rapper that they really can't relate. Nobody can relate. These rappers they can't relate to these rappers like that because every kid isn't doing a handful of perks, right? Every kid isn't running down in the ops. There's only but so much of that you can listen to. So when you get a kid that's not really being himself, that now wants to be a rapper, he wants to imitate other kids can sense that. And adults damn sure can sense that. We don't want to hear that at all. So if the kids ain't listening to it and adults ain't listening, then you got a 40% decrease in sales. We want to do anything but listen to these rappers at this point. 40%? This means that everything that they trajectored, right? All the trajectories that they have for this hip hop, of all the money they were going to make over the next couple years, is kaput. It ain't the same what they thought it was going to be. The only way to reverse this is, believe it or not, to start looking at more creative avenues. Only the creative artists are the ones that sell right now. Kendrick, Cole, right? Drake is going to be Drake. Drake's going to do what Drake does. He's going to make his numbers no matter what. And that's a whole nother subject. But even Drake is being creative with what Drake does. Right? So the simple fact of the matter is, if you got 25, 35 new artists, if you go listen to a best new artist playlist, and more than half of that sounds identical, you have a problem. If you can't make out one voice from the next, you have a problem. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. The understanding is, as people evolve, they want their music to evolve. And if these kids are being told, no, you can't evolve, you have to do the exact same thing you've been doing for the last 5 years, or we're going to drop you from this label. There's no creativity in something like that. The scariest thing for an artist is to be dropped. I don't care if it's a major or independent label. They're so scared to fail, they'll cut and paste the exact same thing in Pro Tools that they did last week. Because they're trying to find a point where the audience will say, yeah, that's fire. But the audience is changing. They're starting to say, no, that's not fire. It sounds just like the stuff we've been hearing for the last 5 years. That's what a 40% decrease in sales means, if that is indeed true. But that's been reported by more than just Juicy J. So I feel like what we're about to see is labels running for cover, trying to regroup. And a lot of the young artists that they think they're going to sign ain't going to be popping like they think. Because right now, old school, believe it or not, old school tours, old school artists, it's a resurgence. Because people are like actually going back saying that stuff was actually really great. It took time, and they went out of their way to be different. They weren't being told, oh, sound just like the next man. Nas, Wu-Tang, a lot of these guys were extremely in their own lane, and their music stands to the test of time to this day. That's why their tours are doing so well. So until the music industry understands, you got to start looking creativity. You got to start looking more for a creative artist, a creative producer. Because that's really what the music is about. It's meant to be creative. It's not meant to find as many carbon copies and spin them off as fast as you can, because that's a recipe. That's not for longevity. A lot of these guys that they're bringing on right now, their catalogs ain't going to be worth nothing. Absolutely nothing. You got guys with $1 million, $30, $40 million catalogs selling them now. Imagine what the catalogs from right now are going to be worth. Almost nothing. They can't withstand it because they're not real artists. An artist is a person who develops art. It's not art when you're listening to somebody else trying to copy it. That's a fraud. And I'm going to leave it at that. The simple fact of the matter is, we don't have the same mentality when it comes to this hip hop anymore. It's about how I can be just like the next man. And how redundant can I sound? And that's going to kill this culture. We're about to lose it. But I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you think in the comments. CLBMG. Make sure you head over there. We got some brand new hats, new shirts, new everything. Go down in the links below. Click one of the sponsors that we got down there. Make sure you support the channel. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. All right? Get in the comments and I will respond. Let me know what you think about the 40% drop in all hip-hop sales. I'm going to catch y'all on that flip side. Peace.
CLB.